Hidden Object Guru here, joined by...
The Unabridged Gamer.
Back for another list from PC Gamer, a publication that is famously not good at lists.
I don't know why. It's not like they do. They've done good things, but they just. I don't. In particular, I'm noticing that with a lot of these lists, that they're basically the theme of all of them seems to be guilty pleasures, but they seem to have no idea how to talk about it or categorize what is or isn't actually a guilty pleasure.
Okay,
Or
I'm going to give you an example of what an actual guilty pleasure is. And this one is borderline, because there's two types of guilty pleasure. And then there's the guilty pleasure where you feel like, where it's bad, but you love it, right? So bad it's good, guilty pleasure, you know.
Mhm.
And then there's a guilty pleasure where you generally feel bad for liking something, but you think it's great. That is the second and much less used thing. Like when you have a movie that you love, but it's from the 50s and is full of horrible racial stereotypes. That falls
the
under
Indiana
the
Jones
category.
effect.
For the Indiana Jones effect is exactly right. Temple of Doom is nothing but deeply unfortunate racism, but I love that movie. That is the other kind of guilty pleasure. So yeah, and that is a perfect example of it. And this is going to be, I think, the first kind of guilty pleasure, so bad it's good, but maybe they'll delve into the second. Let's see. All right,
Well,
so
it's
please.
the premise of this current listicle is which game do you love and find impossible to recommend? Which, in particular, kind of sounds insane to me because
how can you love something without wanting to share it?
that just doesn't make any sense. And like, I can see what based on I read it already. You're gonna be reading through. Dan's gonna be reading for the first time. But basically, what I gathered was it's not actually that they can't recommend it. It's just that they have some really weird excuses for why they don't just instantly tell people to play it. And it's like, okay, but some of these aren't even like not that. One of them is so patently mainstream that I'm just astonished.
Okay, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. But I just want to point out that it's like, I don't understand that worldview at all, because anything I've loved, I've told people they should try.
Yes.
And I mean, I might have qualified it slightly, but I've never found something impossible to recommend. I've recommended people play The Club. It's possible you don't remember The Club, but for like
I
three...
remember it.
Okay, just making sure. There's like
What
three
if you made
people
a
out
shooter
there.
into a racer, but vice versa?
It's a weird game, but you know what? The controls are there. Like the structure of every level is garbage, but the controls as a shooting game are really there. But anyway, let's do it. So first on the list is Philippa War says Deadly Premonition. No, it's the best game of this decade. Best game of the 21st century so far. I'm kidding. We've both played Return of the Obra Dinn. But no, it's an amazing game. And yeah, it has garbage gameplay, but everyone should play it. Truly memorable one. I'm just reading her thoughts on the subject. Irritating QTs. It does not take its sweet time getting anywhere. It has the most fully realized location and NPCs that any game has ever had. Like,
Plus, I didn't actually find the controls that bad. I mean, you and I live streamed it, and
yeah, you were doing okay.
Handled fine.
Yeah, you were doing okay right from the start. So yeah, I don't think the controls are really that bad. But yeah, I mean, the shooting isn't great, but there we go. All right, Evan Lati, second one, Arma 3. I mean, that's
that's like a massively
super popular game. People love this thing. Yeah. Fully explored. It's the richest, unique co-op FPS available. Yeah, massive scale, 60 plus people can romp around hundreds of kilometers, skirmishing over a whole Saturday. Okay, I don't see what is the problem here?
Apparently, what's not to love? Well, cumbersome UI by FPS standards, an intricate and long list of controls, erratic enemy AI, and an experience that often amounts to running hundreds of meters to get a taste of action.
But
okay,
that's the appeal.
You just described Elite Dangerous, but
you've also just described Battlegrounds. Like, I've played a lot of Battlegrounds, and in those 20-minute matches, 17 and a half of the minutes are running to where you think a gunfight might be. Like, you're just describing the most popular online game not named Fortnite. So, yeah, I don't know why you think Arma 3 is hard to sell, but it's not. People frigging love that genre. The Witcher? What?
Yeah,
they mean the first Witcher. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is awkward. I remember bouncing off The Witcher when I first tried it, just because it has the most garbage combat in the world. Like,
Yeah, this was the one where I wasn't too conflicted because I've always had a hard time with
yeah.
the Witcher series. Like, I love the concept, but CD Projekt never seems to execute it in a way where it feels good to me. But
The
that said,
yeah.
there's a lot of old CRPGs that fit into this category of it's kind of clunky, the combat's not that great, and you really have to work into it to actually enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I've played. But I played dozens of those, absolutely. But the thing about The Witcher is, and this is where I don't know if I would say I would find Witcher impossible to recommend, because it does have a good story and it's playable. I've played plenty of unplayable ones, but like the weird thing is the combat moves just so much of an edge towards MMORPG combat,
Hmm.
and it's so much more awkward than any traditional action RPG combat. You know, your Gothic games, My Beloved LX, things like Arcania, things like that. Like Dungeon Lords. Now there's a deep cut that no one but me has played. You have no idea what Dungeon Lords is, do you?
I vaguely recall it. Like, I know the name.
It was
I
a
know the name.
it was like a low budget version of Gothic, which is already a low budget game.
Yeah, I'm thinking, but going lower budget than Gothic, were they using actual paper mache?
Oh god. It's close to it. It's really close to it. But yeah, that is the low end CRPGs I've played, as long as they were tending towards action RPG. But yeah, the combat is so ponderous and so awkward in Witcher. I can understand how people would just completely, you know, dismiss the game. But honestly, I don't think a lot of people are gonna have a hard time recommending that. All right, Fortnite, the
Yeah,
most
that's the one I
popular
was
game
referring
on
to.
the
Fortnite. Like,
internet.
the only person who's not going to be able to be recommended Fortnite is someone like me who just hates battle royales basically on principle. Anytime I've even so much as tried one, I've bounced hard off of it. But otherwise, it's literally one of the most popular games on the friggin' planet.
It's like, this is. I don't know what this list is for now. I don't know if I can recommend it to people who don't like battle royale games. Oh, so the most popular genre and the most popular entry in the most popular genre right now, you think is a guilty pleasure that you find it impossible to recommend? This is like this honestly I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Just like, wait, okay. I just want to read this guy's reasoning. I won't recommend Fortnite to anyone, just like I won't recommend Moby Dick to everyone. So I guess he thinks that a lot of people are too dumb to play Fortnite.
I don't know, and I really am still was scratching at it with the Moby Dick. And
Yeah,
that
no,
because
it's a
just
bad comparison.
I don't understand. I mean, I, as far as high school education went, English lit was my whole thing. So it really is. I can really taste just how badly written that whole comparison is, and it's making my head
Well,
hurt.
it gets worse because Starbuck cooks a whale steak by grabbing a hunk of meat and a coal with his bare hands and shows them to one another. Is that a typo?
I don't know.
So he's saying that. I mean, I haven't read Moby Dick. I'm not going to claim to have read Moby Dick. Does he hold coal in one hand and steaks in the other hand and just hold them near each other? Is that what he's saying?
I need to. It's been a while, but I need to look at like.
Yeah,
After we're done here, I'm going to want to look this up because just like
absolutely.
it feels like such a non sequitur. And there's so
Yeah,
many people who are actually going to be into Fortnite who are not going to get that joke.
yeah. That is so weird. And again, he's saying that he doesn't know if he can recommend the most popular game in the world. You're a crazy person. Oh my god, LX! That was like my favorite game of 2017. Or was it the
Yeah.
beginning? I love this game. Okay, what is I was just waxing rhapsodical about Arcania style action RPGs. Let's see. Accessibility blog okay, this guy is not. Oh, come on. It's hard to recommend to anyone except RPG diehards. I gave this thing like a 7 point out of 10, 5 out of 10, and I am fine with it. If you like action RPGs, and there's a lot of you out there, play LX. You'll love it. It's a game where there are 3 areas, and one area is a sci fi area, and one area is Mad Max, and one area is medieval sword fighting. and like there are three groups of people and you have to decide who you want to fight for, and it's fantastic. So yeah, LX is it's every setting all in one, and it's a great presentation of it. Play LX, people. Play LX.
And then after that comes one of my favorites.
Oh my
that
god, you love
ironically-
Shadows of the Empire.
Oh, yeah,
if you haven't,
I-
check out Unabridged's video about Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah, I did a full review because understand I wanted to play it as a kid. I never got to. I finally get to play it recently, just like it was like 2016, and it was like, this is fine.
It's a good
Why
game.
does everybody say that only the Hoth level is good? This is amazing. And yes, the N64 version controlled like a butt, but that's because the N64 controller was a butt.
I
It
honestly,
was not made for human hands.
I did play it back in the day, and I had no trouble getting through. There's a couple of levels that I had trouble with. I had no trouble with 90% of that game back in the day.
Oh my
Like, come
gosh, yeah.
on. The Boba Fett fight was a little challenging, but the train top stuff was great. All of the speeder bike stuff was great. The Hoth battle is fantastic. Like, I loved Shadows of the Empire. I don't get that at all.
Plus, the amazing thing is, it's probably one of the smoothest ports to PC I've ever seen by GOG. Like, it will run on virtually anything. And
Wow.
because it's so old, you can actually just play with a keyboard and it works. And it's astounding because it's like, oh, so really, we can actually do this where it just plays on the keyboard and it's
Oh, because it
not
has
a
lock
bad
on
time.
aiming, right? It has like lock on aiming where you'll auto shoot at guys if you pointed at them.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing that you always see. Like, there's a lot of YouTubers who complain about how hard it is to aim at enemies. No, the auto lock is super easy to predict. You can. It's
Nice.
one of the most. It actually makes me think of Wet in terms
Wow.
of you can just trust the combat system to do what it needs to do.
Oh yeah, Wet was great because it's like as long as you get a guy anywhere near the center of frame, you're just throwing bullets straight at him. It had a
Yeah.
really good action parkour gunfighting thing going on. Not a great game. Again, the controls were really there. Good times, don't play it. Yeah, nuts to you, buddy. Absolutely play it. You know what? Remind me when I put up this video to put a link to the GOG store for Shadows of the Empire on there.
Yeah, because just oh my gosh, and finally another one that was actually a really big hit.
It's a great big game. Like, Blood Bowl is a beloved franchise going back 30 years. And the first one was so good and sold so well, they just recently put out Blood Bowl 2. Yeah, that's so good. Like, oh my god. He's just explaining the mechanics of Blood Bowl? Oh, this is terrible.
And the thing that gets me is like, I mean, I say this as someone who has absolutely no interest in American football. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Blood Bowl has looked awesome. It looks fantastic. It's the successor to Mutant League football that we actually deserved rather than what actually happened with Mutant League football.
Yeah, I just covered that on the channel. It did not go great. I found a couple of things delightful, but it was not great overall. It's funny, Blood Bowl 2. So this guy is complaining. Jody, I shouldn't have said this guy. Jody is complaining that neither of them doing a good enough job of teaching you how to play Blood Bowl. I've got to say, I really didn't find it a problem. Like, I don't know if you played Blood Bowl 2 at all, but you basically play like 2 games in the tutorial. It takes like an hour, and at the end of the hour, you know how to play Blood Bowl. Like, some of the deeper elements of it, like how to manage star players and how the various perks work and how to do like fouls and bribing refs and things like that you pick up as you go. But all of the core mechanics about how to work the game, you will learn in that first hour. So I don't even know what this guy's talking about.
Yeah,
So-
it's
And again, a bad tutorial, I don't think is a reason to find it impossible to recommend a game.
oh my gosh, yeah. Just going back to when I brought up Elite Dangerous, on top of like 2 hours of tutorials, has so many other things that you need to learn. Warframe is basically requires a degree in all of its different things to fully maximize it, and it's still both of those are some of the biggest selling games.
And people are always bugging me to play Warframe, so apparently most people don't have a problem recommending games that will take you a while to learn. All right, so I guess what we've learned in 2 for 2, PC Gamer, bad at lists.
It's such a shame because, like, I love actually hearing about people's genuine guilty pleasures. I
Yeah,
enjoy it because it's fascinating. But
that's not what these are. These are just super popular games that a few people might not like, and a guy, and of course, in addition to that, a guy who's just wrong about Shadows of the Empire. Like, that's the thing. I mean, he's just wrong about
it doesn't
Shadows of
even
the
really
Empire.
present a reason for why it's bad. It's
No,
just that it's from the 90s.
I know. It's like, hi, I still play Mega Man. You know, every now and then, just as a guilty, not even a guilty pleasure, just to chill, I will boot up my Wii U, and I will just beat Castlevania. You know, in like 1 or 2 lives, because I still love the original Castlevania. That's closer to a guilty pleasure than any of these. And the weird part is, I would recommend people buy Castlevania. I still think it 99% holds up.
Hmm.
The thing about Castlevania is you have to know where all of the multipliers are, and then you have to know which weapon to use on each boss, and you can just breeze through the whole thing in like 20 minutes
Oh
if you
yeah.
know all of that. All right, now that I'm talking about Castlevania, it's obvious we're done with this list. So
Yes.
again, PC Gamer, do better. We'll be back to review your next list as well. Do better.
Please, please.
But for now, seriously, go check out unabridged review of Shadows of the Empire. It's a great trip through the game, and will remind you why it was such a big hit at the time and why it's still worth checking out.
Cheers, everybody.